Good morning. That's working. My name's Chris Caius. I am chairman of the King County Administration Committee, and I'm calling this meeting to order on Wednesday, June 11th, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. Can we have roll call, please?
Arroyo, Berman. Mr. is not okay. Garcia,
Garcia here.
Gums,
Gums here.
Young, Juby,
Juby here.
Caius,
Guys present.
and Roth.
Here. We have an in-person quorum, and I believe Mr. Berman is going to join us. He's been off and on, might be technical difficulties. Is there any objection to having Mr. Berman join us?
No objections.
Okay, I'm going to mention this because now I'm chairman of the committee. If I say if there are any objections and you don't say anything, I'll assume that there are no objections.
Noted. Jesus, Mary Joseph.
And you can't hear anybody that says, I've got an objection, if you're saying no objections. And if you say no objections, it
Got
would
it.
have been just one objection, a no objection from you, not, you can't vote for everybody else.
10-4.
All right, there we go. Just saying. And Mavis, if you're listening, that's for you too. Start these meetings right. Okay, then. I hope Mr. Berman can come on here. Then I would ask for someone to address the minutes, the approving of the minutes from May 14th, 2025.
Mr. Chair Gums.
Gums?
Thank you, sir. I would ask for unanimous consent to approve the minutes of May 14th, 2025.
Okay, and I will make, unanimous consent, yep. Then if there are no objections, I'm just going to point out that there was a slight modification. It's more of a Scribner's error because the software doesn't allow us to say that the one item C on page 3 and 4 was not passed, although it does say in the minutes in the previous, there's a special note that it wasn't passed. Is there any public comment? Anybody here online? None? Thank you. Oh, the minutes are approved, by the way. Financial reports, monthly financials are on in the agenda. So if you have any questions, refer to that. And then on to the executive director's report. Mr. Fonstock, would you lead us, please?
Yes. Good morning, Roger Fonstock with IT and Building Management. So the end of May was the midpoint for the fiscal year, and I usually go through monthly the county department financials to try to see where we're at for forecasting. So this is just a simple mid-year report. So when we say 50%, we're roughly 50% of the year, 6 months into the year. So we're halfway. So it's a good waypoint to try to determine, how are we doing? Where did we think that we need to be concerned? And gives you kind of an overview of what our finances look like. So this is 50% of the year, and that's beginning December 1st through the end of May. So Blair, if you'd hit the next slide. This is our mission statement. It's been our mission statement since I took over with IT and buildings, and we are consistently trying to exceed expectations, whether that's for the offices, the departments, or the public. It's not good enough for us to just go to work and punch in and punch out every day. We want buildings and IT experiences that exceed expectations. Next slide, Blair. So this is the committee goals. This is on every agenda. I'm not going to read these to you, but a lot of our stuff is focused around maintaining existing assets. And I try to break everything down into kind of 3 buckets or 3 areas of responsibility. The first kind of primary responsibility is to maintain, protect, and service all of the existing assets and systems, services, equipment, buildings that you own now. So preserve, protect what we have. And we do that through preventative maintenance and responsive service requests and proactive replacements for scheduled replacements. The second area that we focus on is opportunities to take what we have and expand it or use it more thoroughly in other offices and departments. So take something that we have in one area that maybe is available to be used by another area, and we try to expand the use of that. And the last area is just new stuff. And you won't find a lot of things where we say we would like to just buy something new that the county doesn't have. You'll see that in our goals as we go through the budget process. Most of our targeted expenses are towards maintaining existing assets, existing services, and things that the county owns. So if you go to the next slide, there's some goals for building management. Most of these are around the same types of topics that I just spoke in generalities. We do have some building work that's going on with the health department's building in Elgin. We've finished the roof on that building. We're scheduled the air conditioning. We're working on the final concept plan to bring it back to the health committee and the admin committee. I think that'll come through a committee of the whole too, but we're really close to finalizing the use of the spaces. It's taken maybe longer than we would have liked, but at the same time, we had a lot of lead time for the roof and the air conditioners, which were kind of a prerequisite for using the space. And then the last one, office space and storage space, has been on the back burner. I know with the budget and the fiscal issues, probably acquiring more office space or having more additional employees may not be an immediate issue for us right now because of the budget. But we still have some challenges with storage, and we're still looking at different ways to store things. So that's a goal for building management. If you go to the next slide, Blair. For IT, a lot of the same, maintaining and updating systems. We do maintain and update the really large, I call them like the big five systems. So we have public safety, the court systems, we do the finance system, we do tax administration system, and then we do like the permitting and property systems. So those are really big systems. And we update all the computer hardware, software, and the user environments. We also have the GIS systems that are maintained by the GIS department. We've been working on reinitiating or restarting the fiber leasing or licensing. That's ongoing. I think we're close to getting a final license agreement with the state's attorney's office that we can use. And we recently had some interest expressed in getting a license with us. So that was good. The other things are expanding and changing kind of the services and systems that we use today, like DocuSign, getting more people to use it for efficiency, using Laserfish store records electronically instead of boxes of paper, SharePoint for content management and groups. And we're trying to put together a time and a schedule for Office 365 and email to go to the cloud. I think that's a challenge with the budget because it's going to be expensive. It is not free. It will be additional license costs. Might change our annual license profile with Microsoft by $100,000. So we currently own licenses and pay for like the upgrades and maintenance. To switch to the hosted platform has additional costs, but that's something that I know Charles and his team, they're planning. We just don't know when we'll be able to execute that, but we need to do it sometime in the near future. I'd say we have 3 to 5 years kind of time frame. It has to be changed. Next slide, Blair.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I have a
Rob?
question. I
Sure.
have a question.
is that you? We got him
Microsoft,
rolling. You sure you want to ask?
yeah, because it's
Okay.
kind of
Mr. Roth,
related
you
to
have the floor.
Office
Okay. All right.
365 in a way.
Sure.
Microsoft announced they're dropping Windows 10 support as of October. Have they
Yeah.
extended that, or is there concern on our part?
I think it's like releasing updates to 10.
Right, which then causes security issues long term.
But we're moving to 11, but go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry. Charles will answer that better.
Yes, this is Charles Lasky with the IT department. Yeah, we're aware of that and we're moving people. We expect everybody off 10 by that date. There
Oh,
may be
really?
a
Okay.
few, yeah. We do have a few devices that are spread out that are on older OSs and because there's software that can't run on
Right,
something
right.
else. When we have those, we segment them off in different ways or have them
Okay.
air gapped, but yeah,
Right.
our goal is to be on 11 by that date.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So
Go ahead.
I was going to be more about Office, and I was going to say that's it's a whole nother question. So this is what we're trying to do. We're looking at mid-year expenses for IT. I already mentioned 50% May 31st. Fiscal year starts December 1st. We're looking at like, what are the reasons for overages, timing, increased expenses at one period of time versus another. Certain periods we spend more on electric, certain periods we spend more on gas. We don't do landscaping during the winter. We do snow removal. We do landscaping during the summer. So the seasonal effect of the budget also plays into this. And we're just looking at a way of projecting where we might be at the year end. And year end expenses, low and high estimates. Those are things that I pick as a matter of trying to give you an idea where I think we would be based on our history. So you can expect kind of the amount over or under budget. The good news is I think we'll be under budget, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then if we have something that we're concerned about, I do talk with Kathy Hopkinson in finance and let them know. And then we do monitoring and control for the last two quarters of the year, where we try to constrain and make sure that we're watching monthly to see if we're conforming to what our projections are. So trying to make sure that we stay within our budget, but at the same time, we're trying to keep on pace to maintain everything and spend the money that you have allocated. So controlling expenses will be important. You will see a note in here later where it talks about one of the problems that we're seeing is inflation, and that includes software, equipment, parts, services. Almost everything that we see coming back is inflated, 3 to 5%, usually 5%. And that's software and hardware equipment. The other thing that I would say is that we're seeing vendors that will not hold pricing for anything. In other words, it's so fluid. They're saying if you don't issue a PO and order it, we're not holding the product. It's not yours until you actually order it and say you're going to pay for it. So sometimes we'll get a quote, and if a department or office is not ready to execute, it may change in 10 days. It's that quick. So it's been a challenge to kind of understand the pricing model. So Blair, next slide. We'll get through this next. Let's see. You got it, Blair? I jammed him up. Okay. So for IT, nothing really to report. IT, we've been spending a lot of ARPA money trying to work with the courts. We've also been doing maintenance and support of some of the big systems that are paid out of special funds. So a lot of our work is not showing up necessarily in the IT budget. So we're at 37% at mid-year. I expect that to pick up as we pick up the IT responsibilities and things that we have to get done before the end of the year. We'll be buying upgrades, maintenance packages, and trying to get some of the IT internal projects moving. But Charles is sitting at 37% of the year right now. And I will tell you that that's interesting because it's basically the same place we were at last year in the middle of the year. And we continued to pick up pace again as we go through the summer and into the fall. So next slide. And this shows you kind of the projected, I have a low recommendation, which means we would pretty much come in at 90% and return $517,000. And then a high would be, we won't go over budget. We're going to be at 0 left over. And then I think Charles will be in good shape at 95%, and we would be 258,000 under budget. So that's kind of our understanding right now at halfway. We're 258,000 under, and could possibly be a little bit more. I do see us increasing spending in the second half as some of our projects and contracts renew, and we have to execute those. Again, the monitoring third and fourth quarter, 5% increases in software. We've already heard from one of our largest software providers about their 5% increase. We are trying to work with them and talk with them about things. It's very difficult because they have large customer bases, and that's what they're doing across the board. And again, the parts and equipment will probably continue to fluctuate, maybe go up, maybe come back down. We're hoping that you'll see some of it come back down as some of the market stabilizes and people get an understanding of how the game's going to be played, you know. Blair, next slide. So this is line for line. There's nothing really highlighted. The last line that's highlighted on the bottom is where IT's at today. We had an amended budget of $5,240,000. We've spent $1,955,000. We have $3,280,000 to go, and we're at 37%. So again, we're under mid-year right now. Next slide. This is for building management. Building management's a little different. We do have some things that are over the 50% mark. Most of them, I don't have any immediate concerns. I think we can control for those over the next 6 months. And based on our overall budget, we're still at 43% for 50% of the year, which we're 7% under, which is not bad. So janitorial services, almost break even. Building maintenance and buildings, we are at 55%. It's one of our largest line items. So it has a lot of room in it as we go through and repair different areas of the buildings. 55% is more than where we want to be, but I think through control, we can get that in line. The building lease is the Regional Office of Education building. And that's just the order of payments and the increase in the lease cost. That was something that the board agreed to. I think it was maybe about the time the Sixth Street School building was taken down, they moved to a building in Geneva, and the county budgets for that in the IT or the building management department. But it's paid in advance. So it's at 77%. Plus the lease has an incremental increase on it every year, which we're also talking with finance about where that lease should reside, because it doesn't really reflect the cost of something we do. It's the Regional Office of Education's lease. So we're talking about how the general fund would pay that, but pay it in their budget as opposed to having it reflected in ours. General printing, again, we're a little over. Utilities, sewer, natural gas, a little bit higher. I will tell you on the sewer side, we are paying wastewater for St. Charles and some areas where we're doing water flushing for some different issues in the buildings. So I think you're going to see sewer, wastewater, those types of things are going to continue to be a little bit high. They're not huge costs compared to gas and electric. As summer kicks in, you'll probably see electric go higher and gas will slow down. We end the year at the end of November, so we're not quite in the cold freezing season yet. So we probably don't have a lot of intense gas use as much as we would electricity this summer, and that'll probably balance out. Overall, for 2025, you're at 50% of the year. We're at 43% for building management. Next slide, Blair.
Could you hold just for a second on that?
Yeah.
Could you go back to the building lease, 77% on,
Sure.
for the school?
Yep.
And just run back through that. I know I get
Yeah.
confused every time I
So,
think about it or
When
frequently.
ROE moved from the Sixth Street School, when they demolished and sold it to the library district, there was an arrangement for the county to lease space for the regional office in Geneva. It's just down the street, actually. It's at the corner of 38 and was that 31? Route 38 and 31. It's just behind where the old the little owl used to be there on the corner, and it's behind there. Huh? It's on Hamilton, technically. Yeah. That's the next street over.
Yeah.
North. Behind it.
Sorry, the parking lot's off of Hamilton.
Okay. So anyway, they leased that for them, and the arrangement at the time was that the county would take on the lease for them to move to the other space as a part of their building. And all I'm saying is that it really is a cost center for operating the regional office. And so we were trying to identify that even if the county is funding it, it's not really a building maintenance or operating cost. It's a lease held by the county for ROE. So we were talking with finance about where should that expense be. And we're going through a lot of our expenses to try and, there's been times where in the past things have been put in a building or an IT budget, and they're really reflective of something that somebody else is using. And so when you're talking about budget cuts or who is responsible for that expense, we have a lot of expenses that are not really borne by us. We're just paying the bills, so to speak. So they were trying to get that clarified. So the cost center, what is it attributed to without it being in the pile of bills that we pay?
And this is out of our general fund?
It is. It's paid out of general fund,
And,
operating for leases.
and we don't get any extra from ROE or?
They pay their operating costs for, I think, salary, commodities, contractual. The building lease is ours.
Okay.
So
Just for clarification, thank you. Any
Okay.
questions about that?
Blair, next slide. Next. Okay, so this is the budget. This is just laying out the line items that we were talking about and their overages. To the far right, you'll see the percentage that they're over for the year. This is again at 50% of the year. Again, the biggest ticket item is repairs and maintenance of buildings. We combined a lot of the expenses for that this year into one line items so we can track it without having it coming out of multiple line items. So you see it in one big picture. And that's the 52,110 repairs and maintenance of buildings. It's a big line item. It's 1.48 million. And we've spent $710,000 to date, and we have 670,000 left. So ideally we'd split the difference and be at 50%, but that's probably the biggest challenge that we have. If you go to the bottom, you'll see that the department itself had a budget of $7,964,000. We've spent year to date $3,348,000, and we have $4,558,000 left for the rest of the half year, and we're at 43%. So we're under 7% right now. Go to the next slide, Blair. I think that might be, yeah. So that summarizes like the operating for IT and building management and some of the areas where we may have some concerns. But right now, I think, at 43% for building management and 37% for IT, we're well under budget. So I don't have concerns about that. We are looking at operating costs, personnel efficiencies, the different circumstances for attrition, the budgeting process, and we're trying to take all that into consideration. And we're submitting and working on submittals for our budget. And our plan is to follow the guidance that the board gives us. We don't have any reservations about that. It will not be easy because a lot of the things we do are in support of maintaining and supporting the programs, services, and buildings that everybody else uses. We don't spend all this money on our own activities. It's going out into 27 buildings and 1,400 some employees, computers, air conditioning, lots of air conditioning buildings. So,
Ms. Gomes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On that note, just, I look forward to getting an education. I mean, when we talk about countywide expenses, I can never understand some of the line items where you all are spending money for other departments, and then the other departments have a
Yeah.
line item for the same thing. So I really look forward to getting that clarified, because for me, it's challenging to pinpoint,
Sure.
I mean, take paper, for example,
Oh, yeah.
printing or whatever. It's confusing to me why we're doing this countywide in this budget, and then they have a gigantic budget for it too. So I look forward to hearing why that
Sure.
is.
And a good example is like postage. We pay, I think it's a little over $500,000 for postage for the county-wide postage meter. And then you have like a budget just for elections for sending out vote by mail, and it's another $500,000 plus. And we had that question last year, like, why do you budget postage, but then they budget postage? And we're like, it's actually two separate, and we do spend over $1 million on postage as a county, not just, offices and departments, but elections and everything. It's
But if I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, as the non-professional, I look forward to
Yeah,
that
sure.
explanation, because it never adds up to
Yeah.
me. So,
if you have areas like that you'd like to target, just if you know one of them, just send it to me in an email, and we can certainly try to identify what is happening. Sometimes it's difficult for us to understand what maybe an elected official or department's doing because we don't have access to their books. But we can try to work with them to find out if there's something that we should be paying for or that they should be paying for. Certainly.
thank you.
The next slide is capital projects. This is a little bit difficult to navigate because it's a large amount of money. We budgeted $13,771,000 in capital for this year. A lot of it is focused around projects that are going to be shown on the next slide. We're at 41%. That's a lot of it is encumbered. You'll see the fourth column from the right shows encumbrances, and that encumbrance for building improvements is $4,079,000. That's actually the purchase orders obligating money through purchasing for the projects that we've already started. So it hasn't quite hit our bottom line yet. It's showing as an encumbrance. When we receive the pay applications and invoices, it'll clear, and then it'll just become a year-to-date transaction. But that is subtracted from the budget less year-to-date transactions. We're at 41% right now. Because you have the encumbrance, you have to think of the encumbrance as work that's occurring now, maybe over the next few months, and we won't see those projects actually close out till maybe the end of the year. And we won't start a lot of new ones until we get some of those cleared. So it may not be a direct proportional second half of the year where we spend 41% and then we move another 41% in the second half of the year. We're trying to get a better handle on starting a project and then when would it actually finish? Because if it doesn't finish and we don't have an invoice, the money's obligated, but you go to the end of the year with it being an encumbrance, and then we have to work with finance to move the money into another fiscal year. And it is hard. The county budgets on a yearly basis. So there is the challenge of at the end of the year, and you'll hear this from Kathy in finance, you have the closing process, but you have all these things that are open that are going to carry over to next year, and you have to move them. You have to move both the encumbrance and you had to move the budget. And so we're trying to get to where we have a better handle on that. But I don't think that the 41% will be duplicated in the second half. And I think we'll probably come in less than 80% at the end of the year. And that'll provide some capital for finishing projects in 2026. And then the fund balance for capital, I have to work with Kathy on. But I think there's about, I want to say it was almost 4 or 5 million more than what we had budgeted in the capital fund balance. But we also have to balance out some of the other capital projects from other offices and departments. So there's some other things that go into that number that I'd have to deduct from the money that's in the fund balance before we know exactly. But we're trying to get a better handle on that. We have to in order to submit the capital budget. So next slide, Blair. So these are the capital projects that we have, and you'll see these were as of our last approval of this process. Some of these have moved into closeout, but I just wanted to put that up there for anybody that wanted a frame of reference as to what projects we're working on and what projects are in ARPA. So if you look at the column that's third from the right, you will see the highlighted in blue cells with dollar amounts, and those are the ARPA funded projects that we have ongoing and have to be finished by the end of 2026. So we're going to be really busy working on those all the way through probably to the end of 2026. And then the second column from the right is our capital projects list. Since we've brought Kevin Harris on board for the chief of buildings, Kevin and myself, Charles, Brooke, and our building maintenance team, we're going to be going through this list and trying to see, what we can either put off, hold off, wait, see if we can make some adjustments to make sure that we're not doing anything preemptively or too soon. We are taking into consideration all the comments, and we do understand that, if it's something we don't have to spend, it's cash in hand, you have it. So we're going to be looking at that. There are some things that have to be done. We just can't avoid. But we'll be bringing those back. And another thing that we are going to start doing, I was talking with Kevin and Charles about this, trying to identify a dollar amount that requires us to have a more full presentation to the committee before we ask. And I think we're going to set that at $100,000. So anything that would be public works construction, $100,000 or more, you'll get a certain presentation of certain facts about it. And that's just to be perfectly transparent about what it is that we're asking approval for. Some things seem routine, and you're going to see later a project for adding some asphalt to the sheriff's office for their parking. And I brought the plan set and some pictures, but that's an addition to a capital project. But at the same time, we do want to provide information. We want to provide you with supporting documents so you can kind of see more about the project before you are considering the resolution. So we're going to try to do that. This list is going to be updated. I believe we'll have it back in July in front of the committee, and it'll look different. There's going to be some things that we're going to try to change, and we'll be working through that. So if you have any questions, or if you look through this and you want to understand a little bit more, we'd be happy to have somebody try to explain it to you. I may not be able to explain it, but I know these guys back here can.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
sure. Mr. Royal?
The building codes like ALL, HCH, just.
Yeah.
Where can I find a list of,
What's that?
where can I find a list of what those
A
buildings?
list
are?
of them?
That's curious.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. If there's any in particular, I can certainly try to, there, a lot of times they're
HCH.
common nomenclature people have used over the years, but we could get you a table of what those are. Yeah.
Still learning the terms here.
What's that?
Still learning the terms here.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm still learning the terms. I hate acronym.
AJC's Adult Justice Center, JJC's Juvenile Justice Center. And they have the buildings on this campus are usually building and letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
HCH.
HCH is the courthouse. I don't know what the first H for.
The historic.
Yeah. It is the courthouse. The other one is the Justice Center,
Is historic
criminal
courthouse.
courts. Yeah, maybe. We've never called it that. It's usually OCH,
Original courthouse.
old. And I don't think that's affectionate either. I don't think people like that word. So
Historic.
same with the Yellow House, right? Leslie? No. It's affectionately, yeah, building what, G?
Is that the board? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. okay.
we're losing
That yellow
control.
house right there.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
you can't miss it.
Sorry, Leslie. Yeah, it's the Cole Pope House. But anyway, these are the capital projects, and that divides the ARPA from the capital. And again, we're going to be working through this with our team, and you'll see a different list probably in July. Okay, and I think that's it, Blair. Right, last one. I didn't do the questions or anything like that, so that's all. If you have questions, I'd be happy to
Any
try to
questions?
answer them, or you can take them after the
I
meeting
think,
if you'd
yeah,
like.
I think that we as a committee, we should also always be reviewing when you have your goals that you're set out for the
Sure.
review that as frequently as necessary to, if you
Yeah.
have any ideas or questions about that, we should be analyzing that as we go along, I think. So, thank you. Yes, Ms. Gums.
I do have, so I appreciate you listening to the comments and addressing those. So I do have questions about our storage problem, right?
Okay.
So we obviously have identified we have a huge storage issue. But then I hear throughout the county when I visit with folks that we have spaces that are full of junk. Okay, and I know from my personal space, when I look at my junk, I don't want to touch it, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a pain in the ass. But once you actually do clean it, then you have more space. So I would like to prioritize that issue because we have, as I understand, a great deal of documents that we don't need to keep. And then we also have furniture and the like that we don't need to keep. And that can solve a problem, even a small problem, but still, I think that should be a priority that we address. Thank you.
I agree. Yeah, I think this is Roger again. I think that before anyone, when they come to us, we try to find out what space is around that they could clean out, that you could. We have a couple of needs right now that are ongoing for some small office space, and there are some places where people do store files and other stuff. Yeah. And, there is one challenge that the disposition of property is purchasing's responsibility in the department or office. So we can help. We even arrange movers for them. We're like, yes, please, we'll help you get some movers. But it does come into play where if it's some other office or department's property, we have to get them to agree to work with us on it. So that does become a challenge when that's where they store it and they need to store it. They can't get rid of it. And then we're kind of at an impasse. So we will do that though, as people.
I know that there's one actively working right now to eliminate their paperwork. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's their project, their summer project. So
That's good.
Or the better. One
Yeah.
person's junk is.
We
another
did
person's
empty
treasure.
out a lot of stuff out of the old coroner's office. That happened a few weeks ago. I know the health department and Mr. Mark Smith helped with that. So it's a good project. We got a lot of stuff out of there, but there's still stuff in there. We're getting there. Need a dumpster.
We can tear it down now.
one,
Yeah.
Sounds like from your comment, you have room at your house for
I
storage?
do not.
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
She's not done the cleaning for open space yet. It's on her list, like on the list here, on that list here. Yeah, that's a frequent topic
That is.
as between, yes.
Ryer, I just want to go ahead and say thank you because as a business owner, I do this because this is going to tell me exactly where I am. You know, I try to do it every 3 months, every 4 months,
Yeah.
half the way the year. Financially, I know what I'm expecting. As the leader, I want to ask you, because I already
Yeah.
know. I know that you're under budget, which is great, and I love it. And I love that you started with, right now, we need people, but I think we can go ahead and do it with that. I know that challenging times are ahead. It's happening across everywhere. So I know that when we're a team, we can make things happen. That we're going to work a little bit harder, yes, but things can go ahead and be doable. My question for you is, I know my business from A to Z. You know your buildings from A to Z. Are you confident that we're going to go ahead and, at least not increase the budget? So we know that
Yeah.
on that side, we can rest through the whole year trying to make other things work.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say the departments that are in the general fund are gonna do everything they can to follow the direction of the board. We don't have, the same options or the same internal control that other departments or departments with special funds or offices may have a little different take on it. But we're departments within the general fund and we generally follow the direction of the board. Unless there's, extreme circumstances where we need to bring it back for the board to approve. So ultimately, we'll be following all of the recommendations to the extent that you're going to find out maybe the cost benefit or some of the pros and cons of doing something a certain way. And obviously our goal is to look through our operating costs. So we have, contractual commodities, personnel, capital. We'll be looking at all of that, trying to determine how you can manage that without, harming the people assets as best you can. I know there's attrition. There'll be some people leave, some people that we have to replace. But at the same time, how do you get through all of that, make the necessary changes that you have to do, which might reduce some of the services or things that we buy, try to protect the people that do all the hard work, that do all these things. But, there's no guarantees in life. If we have to cut farther, you have to cut farther. If you don't have attrition and people don't leave, you have to do the things that you have to do. So we've been, looking through that with finance and HR. We're doing it as a team. I think you're going to like what you see from the departments. I don't think any of us had any specific reservations other than some of the really small departments. They have like 3 to 5 people to begin with. So they don't have a lot to start with. So we're trying to work with them to see, how as a group of departments, we can help each other to make sure we meet the guidance. So you might not see as much cutting maybe in one area, but maybe a little bit more in another area. And it's to help offset what not our wants are, but what our needs are, what we need to survive kind of the scenario. And we had a good meeting last week and we're gonna have another one this week. So.
Just
Good
to
question, Ms. Garcia.
just to go ahead and go back to what Mrs. Gum said, right? Is there any way that you can talk directly to all those departments and say, hey, how can you help us? Or how can we go ahead and get rid of all that storage that it's sitting there? Because I know that we can't go directly to them, but probably that's a possibility. Say like, hey, we need in the next 2 months, which department can go ahead and send us a list of what things can they be cleaned by the end of by the end of the
Probably-
summer.
Maybe identifying them first as targets. I only know of about 4 that are probably worth taking on. And I could probably name most of them right now off the top of my head, but I won't. And we would need those specific 4 to partner with us to help clean them up.
And sometimes I feel that we love to be in our comfort zone. So
Yeah.
a little bit of pressure there, so that way we can go ahead and start seeing changes, and it's not gonna happen 100% all of them, but if we can do just 10%, we will see the difference.
Yeah. I think that there's an essence of like squatters' rights and sprawl, like if I have space, I'll grow into it or I'll take it over. So yeah, actually freeing up space adjacent to something, you got to kind of put cones around it so people don't come and find it and start putting more in. But we will be working through that. I think one of the biggest needs right now is actually Cancom. They have a couple people they're looking for some space. So, and OEM is a big need. Okay.
All right. Any other questions
Nope.
or comments?
Let's move this show on the road.
Mr. Roth?
I had actually put that as one of the options we need to look at on the top 30 list of finance. We need to look at space. The quote I use is build it and we'll fill it. If you go out to OEM and there's storage, you're seeing furniture on the 3rd rack high. Do we really need to keep furniture forever? Thank you.
Let's move on. Property.
He always orders new chairs. New furniture. Okay. Then on to, or then you're going to, that was your report?
Yeah, that was our
Okay.
executive director's
Are you-
report.
Would you like to cover assets right now?
Yeah, I want to do the Kane County property assets as a
Or the
discussion.
questions or comments on, about where our status is right now, budget wise? Then we'll just move on to that.
Yeah. What do you want? Yeah.
This was requested by Ms. Gums.
I did. I want to just start a conversation about this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Certainly.
All right. So I had sent out a spreadsheet and Ms. Druby had asked me to do some additional information to help with supplementing this. So what we're passing out right now and what Blair has on the screen is basically something that GIS, Nick Kruger, Jason and GIS, they put this together for me. And what you'll see is a table of parcels that the county owns. The left ID is just a numerical order. There's a PIN number. And then I added a brief description, which helps you kind of understand what the property actually is. And then there's the site address, and we have the recorded acreage, and then what they call the calculated acreage from their math. And then I highlighted the parcels. The ones that are in yellow are the county parcels that have our buildings on them and our uses. So we're using them actively, and they're kind of something that you would traditionally understand as being one of our buildings or one of our sites. The blue highlighted one is the former sheriff's campus on Fabian, and you have the farm field north of the judicial center. And those are kind of inventory properties that are large pieces of land that are relatively open. I would point out the farm field has a public act that restricts it to criminal court. The sheriff's campus does still have a small storage building. It has the recycling center, and it has about 150-year-old house. It's a historical house. They call it the Massa White House. And then there is a Crown Castle Pinnacle 427-foot radio tower. That's the sheriff's transmitter site. That is what's on the Fabian campus. There is another piece of property that is on Fabian that I don't think I highlighted up there. I think it's labeled, but it's the actual tower site where the tower itself is. The orange locations.
Really quick, Roger, what about those trailers that are sitting there? Do you know anything
Where?
about those?
Where at the Fabian site?
Yeah, I mean, I,
So those are sheriffs.
okay, are they?
Yeah. Um,
I won't talk about it
and,
anymore
and
then.
we do, and you know what? It's great that you mentioned some of these things because that is a part of getting more space at the sheriff's building. We don't have enough room to move some of that equipment around, so it sits at Fabian.
I mean, it's like a Winnebago.
That was an impound lot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the OEM.
Not- No,
Old.
definitely no.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
we,
Okay.
yeah, those were from the original sheriff impound, or they've been using the surface lot because we just don't have enough room. And that's something that this additional surface parking will help with. We'd actually like to do a little bit more at the Judicial Center campus than what we're proposing today. But financially, this is just a good step. It'll help us, but you'll see that in a little bit with the resolution that Kevin has. So again, the blue ones are those kind of open lots. The orange ones are strangely enough, like forest preserve, protected wetlands, or some type of habitat that we have some existing agreement or relationship with. We did find some things that I thought were a little unusual, a little strange, you know. I mean, we own portions of Settlers Hill Golf Course in this. We have the power generation plant at Settlers Hill is in this list of parcels. It's on our list of parcels that we own. There is a cemetery in Montgomery that we own a portion of, and a few other odds and ends. We own the McLean Fen Forest Preserve. It was, I think, a part of a land acquisition from KDOT, but it's forest preserve titled, but the land itself is owned by the county. And then the rest of the ones in white were, generally speaking, small acreage, and I could relatively identify them as right-of-way or detention around highways and intersections. So I didn't spend a lot of time on those because they're all around an intersection, something that KDOT acquired, and they're small fractions of parcels. And I have talked to Tom Rickert and Mike Zakozik through email, and they said they would be listening and be able to answer questions through this process if we had questions. But I think the ones in white up there are the ones that are not highlighted. It's safe to say those are in that right of way, or they're Mill Creek properties. We do have slivers and sections of areas in the Mill Creek development that were a part of that development that the county took title to. The Forest Reserve did too. But most of those are like wetland, detention areas, watershed. They're not free and clear parcels that are zoned already. So
Now, those that they took, that the county and the Forest Reserve took
Title.
ownership of, or they were,
they're titled to us.
they were, was that signed?
Some of them were quit claim deeded to the Forest Preserve or the county. Some of them were actually a part of the original development, I think, agreed to, but
Oh.
some are.
So it's a mix. Okay. Mr. Roth?
Deeds without
Roth
warranty.
here. I know the Forest Reserve, KDOT turned over some of the property along Stearns Road. I'm curious if it's these, because they actually, they were taking responsibility, and I guess, have you had the
Yeah.
conversation with the Forest Reserve? Because I would think if it's type of land that is, the Forest Reserve would,
Yeah.
to expand, because they took a lot of the property there right at the river, south and north of
Oh.
Stearns Road.
This was based on the property record for the tax bill.
Right,
If they
right.
did something recently.
It may
there
not have been
There
updated.
might be some changes. that
Okay,
happened,
and that's
but-
why I'm bringing it up,
Yeah,
because,
and that's why I was highlighting them differently, is because
Right.
I don't think there's something that you're going to want to take action on or,
Right,
or
right.
try to change.
but we should get
necessarily.
the paperwork correct, so we get it off the county and onto the
Maybe-
Forest Reserve.
Tom is online. Is it Rickert? Would he have any information about?
He
Um,
might.
It's
Tom,
in-
Tom, are
Rickert.
you there?
Yeah, Tom Rickert here from Division of Transportation. Yeah, there's a number of, I think I highlighted and recently sent to Roger, there's a number of parcels, about 66 of these parcels are KDOT right away. The Stearns Road corridor, there's a number of parcels that we recently by agreement conveyed. I don't know where we're at in the process of recording those parcels, but those are being conveyed over 100 acres that we're conveying over to the Forest Preserve as part of the Stearns Road corridor. There's a lot of, like Roger said, there's a lot of other roads like Orchard and Fabian and Long Meadow that there's additional open space along. Like if you look at like parcel 3 and parcel 9, I mean there's a whole bunch of parcels that are open space that we're in the process of either conveying, or we have discussions with Dundee Township Park District and the Forest Preserve along Long Meadow, as well as Carpentersville. There's that 18 acre, I think it's 18 acres, parcel around at the roundabout. We're looking at trying to figure out how to convey that. That's an open space area as well. So there's a number of parcels that are in process.
Yeah. The one you just mentioned, Tom, is number 10 on the list. It's in white. That was,
The Bolts Road?
yeah, Long Meadow Parkway corridor area, Bowles Road.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 18.75 acres.
Yeah, it's a major wooded site. It's got a lot of relief, about a 40-foot drop from one end of the parcel to the other end of the parcel. It's a piece of land that was being considered for open space, and we've had discussions, preliminary discussions with Park District as well as with Carpentersville.
So if we got those cleaned up, that would remove a large number off this list and get it off the county's books. And then the other thing Tom mentioned, he had a lot of KDOT practice. We may want to color code all those KDOT ones just so we know, they have them for a reason.
And I believe those are either identified in this as
Okay.
yellow or they're white.
Okay.
The ones that, I think are Forest Preserve, wetland kind of preservation, things are in the orange.
Right.
The open land ones are the ones that are in blue, which is Fabian and the property north of the Judicial Center.
Right.
There's a large parcel that we identified in the Mill Creek, which is one of the top.
Number 33?
No,
that's
I
4
think it's
acres.
even bigger. There's that. Trying to find it on the list.
16?
Might be.
That's just under 11 acres.
Number 8.
Yeah, that one is that one and number 8. They're literally like a wetland. They're water and Phragmites. I mean, it's you walk out there, you'd be waist deep in water. So
Okay, any other questions? or-
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ms. Gums?
Juby?
Juby, sorry, that was the left hand, right hand. Juby?
Fine, whatever. I did not wake up with violence, so just saying.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, ask Charles, maybe I did.
That to the
So when you,
nameplate.
when you're looking at number 19 and it's the storage land that appears to be KDOT surface storage,
Yeah.
that's 10 acres of surface
Yes.
storage. 10 acres is a lot. 10 acres is, 5
One of my
2-acre
houses.
homesteads, 2
Yeah.
5-acre homesteads.
That's the CV Road location where you have there's like a salt dome out there and a bunch of
Yeah.
highway barricades, and it looks like there's a couple roads out there and maybe a few little storage things.
Yeah, there's the salt dome that's there, as well as a storage area that's all fenced in, as well as it's utilized. Sometimes it's a gravel pit that we used to operate significantly more, but our gravel pit operations have really slowed in that area.
Okay, so we have 10 acres of gravel pit, basically?
Yeah, it's actually there's property both on the north and the south side of CV Road.
Okay,
And that could be mined.
Yeah, yes, there's actually the I forget the vendor or the company that's out there that already mines around us. But that's the possibility. Right now, we evaluated, the Transportation Committee about a year ago evaluated the operations, and it was at least temporarily decided to retain the property. But there was a request by, I think, Lafarge, if I recall right, about either purchasing a portion of the land that we have or being able to do certain things up to the property. We had a number of concerns when we were evaluating their proposal.
Thank you,
Bluff
Tom.
City, I'm sorry, I was just informed by Mike that it's Bluff City.
Is that just been brought up on the Zoom map?
Yeah, I was trying to share it for Blair. This is actually the parcel, Tom.
Yeah, that's the south side in blue, and then the north side, you can see the dome as well as our Quonset hut shed there.
So I can get that on here.
Is that residential to the
This is the yeah, that's
immediate
there.
right to that?
This
line
is a
across the
part of
street?
it too. This parcel is also a part of it. And then this across the street is part of it.
Those are the mining operations, or those are our,
Potential.
Yeah.
Well,
is that our
that's-
property?
Somebody's mining already.
The south side, we had
Yes.
mined it in the past.
Right. It's
Okay,
not-
so-
It's not active is what I'm saying.
So we're bigger than the blue?
There's two parcels there. Yeah.
So, so we're the blue and then right next to the blue?
And this one right here.
Okay,
see if I
and
can pull
then-
it up. That one's,
Is that a residence right
11.
next to that?
yeah,
on
the
right?
property line ends about right where that guy's curve is on his drive. It ends like right at the property line there.
Okay,
So the
so,
ugly brush area is ours.
okay,
Yeah.
and
It's
then,
11 acres, and then this one is roughly 9.5, so it's about 20 acres.
so that 20 acres could have residential potential?
Well, I don't know, but that's probably a development question, but Tom, as far as KDOT, I don't know what their holding is with it or.
Yeah,
what their-
I don't believe that that has development potential. We can look into it. I'm trying to remember exactly what Bluff City wanted to acquire from us or to at least rent from us. Mike is saying it was the north side that they were looking at, the north side of CV, north of our dome.
Yeah, I was thinking more of residential, like an estate type of, estate farming type of a thing, like two parcels that would maybe be residential based on what was next door, which to
Yeah,
me
that
would have a lot more value.
So,
We,
yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Roth?
One of the recommendations I had made at environmental, a lot of what have been, used as, these gravel pits and stuff, the soil's already ruined, that it'd be perfect location for solar fields. Because, so, I don't know what the quality of the land is. And if it's, you're going to get less complaint, especially if we already own the property. Now, if there's still gravel potentials, we should look at trying to rent that out to get some.
I'm just trying to see what its value is
Right.
to us
Right, I agree.
and for sale, that's all.
So
I'm
the,
not saying we
the
should do
parcel
anything
to
with
the
it.
north side's like 25 acres, in the south, the two parcels combined is
Okay.
about 20. So 45 acres north and south is what I would estimate.
Mr. Chair Gums.
Jim?
Thank you. I first of all want to thank you for the conversation because this is exactly what I wanted to happen. As much as I
I need to,
think the residential factor is great, but I mean, it sounds to me like somebody may be interested in this mining operation. So to consider that, I would like to hear more. I would like to get more information about that. If it's already being mined or had recently been mined and somebody wants to mine it, let's sell it to them. Like, that's why I'm here today, is to talk about stuff we don't need and get rid of it. As an option.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
We don't know that we don't need it.
Of course, we don't know that. That's why I want more information. But like, if we don't need it, let's get rid of it.
Well, and an alternative is to get revenue off of it. And then when we need to use it after it's a dead,
Yeah. I
Strip
think that,
mine.
to your point, Mr. Roth, a lot of what I see with the solar issues is we still own it in 35 years. We're going to have to decommission that. So I love the idea, but we always have to think about that, right? So if we put solar fields up all over the place, we have to take care of that problem in 25, 30 years.
That's-
So
25
But-
years is they have, it's built into the,
Right, but
Purchase.
at the end of it all,
right.
if the county still owns it, we have to decommission that. That's our responsibility, right? If we get rid of
Talking
it,
about money wise or?
of course, with everything.
But you're
built
going to
into the-
generate a lot of revenue that would pay for that. And that would be not our money. It would be out of the solar fields.
Yeah.
And it generates a lot of money. And I know Mr. Caius had talked to Mr. Armstrong last year. When a farmer converts to solar, our property tax value goes up, what, 40%?
Oh, yeah, more than that.
Because it's not taxed at
Right.
agricultural
Yeah.
rate.
Yeah.
It's based off of
So
megawatt.
that's a great
So there's
option. I'm
additional
just
revenue.
Suggesting that if if we offload stuff that we ultimately determine we don't need, that's going back on the property tax rolls.
Right.
So.
Right, but it also could be considered a revenue too. So you need to do the financials to look at
In the
that.
conversation,
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
I think this is a great starting point. Of course, we won't get it solved today and we
course not.
still get our
It's fine.
stuff passed. So, but where you're going, I think is very exciting. And I'm not sure what the best way to address that is. Work with Roger or,
Well,
uh,
if I can just
include it on-
follow up, I have some to go from here to the next steps,
bird's eye view.
like bullet points that I wrote down.
Okay.
And I will email this to you guys, but things that are important for this conversation, I think. So we did the inventory compilation, which I appreciate.
First step.
That's step one, right? And then, of course, part of that, what I'm looking for is, we've got the parcel numbers. Obviously, we need to make sure those are accurate. We've got the acreage. I put that down. Zoning classifications. And I guess when we're doing this broader analysis, I would like the environmental concerns on each project. If there is, because I know there are some environmental concerns on certain issues. Structural issues that we may need to know if we're talking about specific I don't want you to do this for every property, but if it comes to us and we decide to have a bigger conversation, these are some of the things I want to know. And then the physical condition assessments. So, of each of those properties that we discuss. And then part of that conversation would be the liabilities of keeping, the liabilities of getting rid of it, and then an estimate. So I think our brokers need to be engaged in this conversation at some point. I don't know what that point is, and I look for you for that direction, you guys, because we need fair market values on stuff that we're having conversations about. I think the conversation can't be complete without knowing the fair market values. Is this worth getting rid of? Is it not worth getting rid of? Should we keep it? And all those things are relative. And the broker is the person that I want to be involved in that conversation. And then revenue potential and redevelopment feasibility. And then ultimately, I think that what I'm looking for is a recommendation from you all at each property, whether we should retain it or get rid of it. Should we sell it to the forest preserve? You know what I mean? Like, they don't need to be given stuff. FYI, I hear they're loaded. And then justifications for why we should be keeping things. I am frankly, and this is no reflection of anybody in particular, but to say, I think we should keep it because we want to do this eventually. It ain't going to happen in my lifetime because we're broke. So that's where I'm coming with this conversation. So let's have those things, and see what we can offload. Put it back on the tax rolls. I think our taxpayers would appreciate that. I don't have anything else.
Your next step.
Mr.
then-
Chairman.
Your next step then.
Well,
oh,
I
go
will
ahead.
email
Roger.
the next steps, so.
Sure. So we have been in contact with our broker, and we did provide them this list just so they have it to start looking at. If you could, as board members, it's a large list. We'll be cleaning up things with KDOT and others as they take things on and off for these smaller parcels. If you could identify maybe the top 5 to 10, it seems like the CV Road, parcels are of interest. The Fabian properties are of interest. Those are really large pieces of land. I don't know if you identify it beyond those, but what we could do is have the broker focus on some high value targets that are maybe the top 5 and see what kind of information. I wrote down the things that you just mentioned, but if you give us the list and you give us like your top 5 parcels that you'd like us to start getting really like almost like a profile together of what the property is, you know, what could be done with it, when they do it, they'll do an opinion of value. They'll give you the high and the low. So the best use, or maybe the not so good use, they'll give you a range of values depending on who develops it or who uses it.
And I look forward to you guys too, I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, you know, I don't know what I don't know, right? But you all know that stuff. So, like Highland Avenue, you know, I don't know what parcels we have,
Yeah.
but there's so many options out there that we really, I think, need to take a closer look at all this. And this is the
Yeah.
perfect conversation for that. So
It's,
I don't know what I don't know, but you guys, I trust will share that.
you
information.
mentioned Highland
Yeah,
and number 72. It is actually the lot adjacent to 1330. It's used as a community garden right now, but it's a lot on Highland Avenue. I think it's a maybe 1 acre lot
Mhm.
on Highland right next to the building. And right now it's just a community garden.
right.
Is
I
that-
mean, there's a few parcels on Highland Avenue, and then there's options because
Yeah,
you know, you have probation, you have the health department, you have the parcel,
yes,
shifting, like there's a broader conversation there.
yes.
Is 72 the one across from Maria Wilkinson's food pantry? Because there's a community garden there.
No, it's if you're at 1330 Highland, which is the Aurora Court Services, it's just to the south of that building. Across from the hospital.
Between the health department and the probation center, which is
Right.
down the road.
Way to stretch for
We
that
should
one,
go on a
'cause that's
field
the
trip.
other side of the
We should
county.
go on a field trip.
Okay, well then, I would, I'd like to move on if that's okay, then we'll, but I think we have
A good start.
yes, a start.
Thank you
and-
very
and
much,
where we're
Mr.
going.
Chair.
I think that's it.
Okay,
And
thank you,
Mr.
Roger.
Fonstock is nodding.
I was just pulling up the property next to 1330 if you wanted to see what it looks like.
A garden. Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
So the building, 1330, the building is, let's see, this one on the corner.
Yeah.
And this would be directly south of it. This is the community garden. And this is a parking lot basically for another private building. And then that would be
The help.
our health department building right
Health
there.
Yeah.
You can tell because it has the COVID shelter drive-through in the back. Oh, this is a dated photo. Yeah. Okay.
But you know, there's been a little conversation about the probation folks not having great space.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's gonna happen with the health department building, but
Yep.
its design is, in my opinion, being very familiar with how probation functions. The 1330 building is well suited for the probation center,
Yeah.
just FYI. So, I mean, there's a big conversation there to be had.
Yeah, probation is in here. Court services is in this corner lot.
Well, they do work together.
Yeah, they do. This used to be before we bought 1240 Highland, which we paid about $1.1 million, I think, for 1240. The health department was originally in 1330 and had their clinical, and they actually had family case management, and they did TB in there too.
I do recall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we're going to move on to item 8 then. We're saturated.
Yes,
our
we're done.
Committee members, and that would be Kevin Harris.
Sounds good.
And actually, I'll start with the resolution. I would request the resolution, someone move a resolution potentially to approve authorizing contract addition of alternate 4 for the Kane County Judicial Center Pavement Improvement Project with Geneva Construction Company Incorporated, bid number 25-014-TK, moved by
Council move.
Dom, second by
Juby?
Juby. Mr. Harris.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again. A point of privilege, I want to introduce Wendy Franco. She's our new project manager. She started about a month ago.
Hello.
Wendy
Welcome.
comes from us with a deep background in property management and project management, as well as she's been an entrepreneur, so she brings some business acumen to the team as well. And so she'll be leading this project and all of our pavement projects. I want to take a chance to introduce her to the board. So we have our wonderful Wendy Frank.
Hi, Wendy. Welcome. Time.
All right, so this project here, to give you a bit of background, when the multipurpose building was built about 6 or 7 years ago, there was a plan to include an impound lot for the sheriff's office. It was about 159 spaces for that impound lot at a cost of roughly $2 million. As the project was developed, the county decided to remove that from the scope of the project, so there was no impound lot that was built. And so because of that, the sheriff uses their employee visitor parking lot that's on the east side of the jail for the impound lot. It has about 65 cars in it today. And talking to Chief Kadich, it has between 60 and 70 cars at any given time. And so the result of that is that the parking space by the jail is fairly full. And when they have training sessions, which is sometimes twice a week, they overflow. And I've seen that since I've been here. And talking to Chief Kadich and some others, I got a chance to pay a bit more attention to it in the last few weeks. And even yesterday, if you came by the St. Charles location, you'll notice that the cars are only filling the parking lot, but they're on the curbs by the jail. They're by the shooting range, by the jail, all on the curb. It creates quite a few pinch points in there as well. And so that just continues to get fuller and fuller. And they're using the multi-purpose building space as well. So they're literally out of space and on the curbsides right now when we have trainings. So the goal of this project is to create just a little bit of space. It'll cost $111,000. I'm sorry, $111,184,000. I can't talk this morning, huh? Yeah. My wonderful Rockies keep losing and I can't seem to talk. Unlike the Cubs who are winning, it's worst team in the Major League right now. So it'll cost over $100,000 to build this out. It'll create about 26 new spaces. So it does create a little bit of relief when we have these training sessions. And so we want to add this to the existing pavement project so it will dovetail into it, which makes it a lot easier. The company doesn't have to demobilize and mobilize. So there's some cost savings there as well. And so that's what you have before you for this project.
And that's on page 39 of the agenda.
Yep.
Total cost for the whole project was $1,349,991. But this would include the 1,100.
Question.
Yes.
Is that project also going to fence it in? Because right now, anybody can walk in there. And I was there last year when I was examining the solar field and no one came out from the jail to say, hey, get out of here. There's some dangerous stuff that kids get in there. Could be
It
a
is,
safety hazard.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep, Mr. Fonstock?
Mr. Kadich?
It is under video surveillance and there is a 24-hour like in control someone there. But Mr. Kadich is here. Yeah, go ahead, Ed. And this, you're right, though. We do want to build a permanent impound lot. It would be just to the east of the multi-use building or multi-purpose building.
Right.
We have a flat area that we identified. We have started getting a plan set together for that. And that's something that I would personally like to bring back still this summer and try to do because I think it's the right thing to do.
Right.
I will tell you in 2007 and 8, when we moved out of the Fabian campus, that was something that I don't think was finished, which was to complete an impound lot. Sorry, I don't want to steal Ed's thunder, but yeah, that's just some history.
You have something to add,
Sorry,
Mr.
yeah.
Kadich?
Yes,
Officer
Chief
Kadich?
Kaddish, Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
Roger's absolutely right. You know, this can is being kicked down the road every time we move or we build a new project. When the jail was built, there was not a plan to put a impound lot at the new jail location. So then they wanted to add it to the multi-use facility build. And again, that can was kicked to save money on that build. So technically we do have an impound lot, but it was not designed as such. It was just a standard parking lot which we started to use up in the rear of the sheriff's office. And that has created a problem without giving us spaces for additional parking. We've chewed up over 65 spaces and that can vary between 50 to 80, depending on what type of accidents we have, what type of cases we have. And it's, once again, we're kicking the bucket down the road. So what Kevin's asking for is just to help alleviate some of our current parking problems, when we have a training, they line cars up along every curb down there, which makes it impossible for us to even get commercial vehicles for our deliveries in there. And it's just a horrible situation. So we're asking that this little bit of additional parking be added, not as an impound lot, just to help offset the area that the current impound lot is housing.
So can you just articulate, why it's important to have this separate because of chain of custody?
Absolutely. And that is one thing we don't have, even though it is under some video surveillance. Technically anybody can walk back there at any time. So Roger was talking about an impound lot that is being proposed on the east end of the multi-use facility, which would be a lit, fenced, video surveillance lot with limited access by key only, is what we truly need at the sheriff's office. Thank goodness, knock on wood, we haven't had any instances where evidence has been tampered with in the back lot, but that is a potential.
Thank
And
you.
that could be devastating to the sheriff's office and the county as a whole.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
There's some cool junk back there.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, just the,
Good we're saying this in public then that it's open and, okay.
well,
This maybe will
there
help
is
us get
a
things going.
drawing on screen that depicts
he has
this
a comment.
section.
I have a question that
Go ahead, Ms. Juby.
what is alternate 4? Why have I never heard of them before?
I can explain
Yeah,
that.
well, we had,
Go ahead, Kevin.
fine, you can fill in, please. So we had, when you did the original bid, there were 4 alternates. So let's look at different phasing of the project. And I thought when I met with the team, so this is on me, that I didn't think we actually needed it. So I didn't include it in the original request when we came to you about a month or 2 ago. But I got a chance to talk to Chief Kadich and the others afterwards and realize a priority that it needed to have. And so that's what we're bringing it back today, because I got educated a bit more on what was needed and why it was needed. And I wasn't familiar with that before. So that was really on me.
So alternate 4 is Geneva Construction?
Yes, it was.
Yes. So the original was Geneva Construction, and Geneva Construction is also the lowest bidder on this one as well. And so we get the benefit of using the same company to do all of it. Again, it keeps your costs lower. You don't mobilize, demobilize, mobilize again. You have the same people. And so you're not having to re-educate new labor workers who are coming. So it keeps things far more efficient.
So if we're using alternate 4 for this new, did we bid out this additional job?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
So why is it an alternate then? If we bid
So
it out, it
The,
should be a new,
I can explain it.
go ahead.
So the original bid had a base bid for the parking lots at the Judicial Center for resurfacing, like mill and resurface. And then we bid out alternates to do some additional parking areas around the campus where there's deficiencies. So there's a couple places like we're widening where the judicial judges are. We're going to change their parking area a little bit because it's a little bit tight back there. There's some other spaces. You'll see the strip of parking just north that says alternate 3. That was not mill and resurface. That one is some additional spaces. And what Mr. Harris is saying is alternate 4 was a similar project and we weren't going to do that, but they were all bid under the same package. The base bid was mill and resurface. The alternates were adding these additional parking spaces and areas. And so last month we put through the base bid and alternates 1, 2, and 3 as a part of fixing the parking lots there. And then this would add alternate 4, which was a part of the original bid. And purchasing, Tim worked with us to go back to the bid respondent, the people that responded, to confirm that they would allow and add it to our agreement if we could get the board to approve of the alternate 4. So what Kevin was saying is adding it now as opposed to if we come back later and try to remobilize and redo the bids, we would have a lot of additional expense. And we probably will not get the benefit of the volume of asphalt that we're putting in. So what they're proposing was an alternate to the base mill and surface.
Okay, so in the future,
Yep.
when you add things that are previously bid, can you give us the bid documents so that we have those? So can you have the bid documents for alternate 4 when it gets to finance, please?
Yeah. Blair, is that in the packet? Was it attached?
It's not in the
attached?
packet.
Okay, it should have been. You're right. Absolutely.
Okay,
We had some pictures up there, Blair. Those were pictures of kind of the parking areas. So that's actually the strip where we're adding some spaces so people can park instead of parking in. That's actually the drive where those cars are parked in the trailer. That's actually the drive going up to the Sally Port at the sheriff's office, which is something we have to fix. And that was in the original alternate 3. And then go another picture, Blair. And that is the back parking lot behind the Adult Justice Center. And the additional parking would be an expansion just to the left of where those cars are. And it only goes, it goes into that curve on the left, comes up, doesn't quite fill out the whole curve, but just about that entire section of grass there would be replaced with a parking lot area. Yep. It's just to the right of those trees where the curve starts.
I'm ready.
okay. Any questions? Got it?
Yep.
Can we have roll call, please?
Arroyo. Berman.
Berman, yes.
Thank you. Garcia. Gums.
Garcia, yes.
Thank you. Sorry. Juby.
Juby, I.
Caius.
Guys, yes.
Passes.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Then
Thank you.
moving on to information technologies, Mr. Lasky.
I don't have anything for you this morning.
Oh, sorry to
Perfect.
wake you up. No, I was just kidding. Thank you. It's good. Well, and then we have something about on the GIS system, Mr. Lebo. Is
This
that you?
Charles. No, we don't have anything for JS either. Those are just placeholders. There's-
Placeholders,
yeah,
okay.
there's nothing for those items.
Okay, thank you. Still awake? Then Mill Creek SSA, may I have a motion and a second to present and potentially approve a resolution authorizing additional funds for Kane County's concrete services with MM Construction Incorporated for Mill Creek Special Service Area bid number 23-041. That's TMP-25-683 for up to $250,000 a year, I believe. Moved by
Gums.
second by
Juby seconds.
Juby. Mr. Fonstok?
Yeah, so this is a Mill Creek concrete project. We are responsible through the Mill Creek SSA to handle trip hazards and uneven sidewalks throughout their development as a part of maintaining the SSA. We have a bid for MM Peters Construction that was approved, bid number 23-041. This will add additional funds to the contract for additional squares of concrete. So we basically had an inventory of all the trip hazards and squares, and this money is being used from the Mill Creek Special Service Area budget to replace sidewalk in and through Mill Creek. It's budgeted expense. We do have the recommendation of the Mill Creek as SSA advisory body. They want us to repair more sidewalks. So we're increasing the spend. And again, it's a budgeted expense from the SSA funds.
Okay, any questions?
Arroyo. Berman.
Berman, yes.
Garcia.
Garcia, yes.
Gums.
Gums, yes.
Juby, I.
Caius.
Guys, yes.
Passes.
Great, motion passes. Nothing under vehicles, any new business, old business?
Kevin,
monkey-
I'm really sorry.
Monkey business?
I'm just looking at your stats for the Rockies.
Yeah, we're awful. It's terrible.
Oh, for the Rockies? Yeah,
That's our
We should
old
get-
and new business, unfortunately.
They've had our number long enough. It's about time we won a few. Sorry, old business, that's old business. May I have a request to put the reports on file? Request unanimous consent to put the reports on file. Are there any objections? Hearing none, reports are on file. No need for executive session.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by
Motion to adjourn.
Berman, seconded by
Gums.
Gums. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?